Alrighty, here's an update on the Absolute Performance intake. Cold air intake, if you will. I don't know their exact nomenclature of it. They all call it something different. This is basically going to be a review, if you will. I mentioned something in a video a while back. I was going to give you an update. So here's what you can expect when you buy a cold air intake from Absolute Performance. This is a 2015. I don't know if you can see that dent there. It's not horrible, but it's still a dent that was created from the intake. I guess the 15s and 16s, the metal coolant line sits on top of the intake and it doesn't clear the hood. So that's where we started off. Got the dent in my truck. I called them. I wasn't too upset about it because it's really not that, big of a dent. It's kind of the principle of it. They informed me that they have a soft coolant hose that will work. Now the problem with that is it didn't say anything about that in the description. If you look at the description, which I'll put a link to it, it says it comes with every single thing you'll need to install it. Well, if a 15 needs a soft coolant hose, strike one, they're full of shit. Number two, it says it comes with everything. I had to use one of the factory clamps. Actually, I used the S&B clamp because I replaced an S&B with this. Nothing wrong with the S&B. I just have it in that truck over there now. So, there's two. It doesn't come with everything. It comes with no instructions, which a cold air intake isn't very complex, but as I'll get to later, if anybody needed instructions, it would be these guys. So let's look at the how she's holding up after a year. Yep, there it is. The thing I could recommend most is taking that piece of shit out of your truck and replacing it with a high quality cold air intake such as a K&N or S&B. Those are the only ones I really have experience with, mostly K&N. You'll see this is a one-piece design as opposed to the S&B. It has a boot here, so it's two-piece. Slightly touches the auxiliary or the EGR coolant reservoir. Not a big deal. I put a little piece of electrical tape in there. But this pile of shit, let's see where it rubbed. It's been sitting up here for a few months. I don't remember exactly where. Somewhere around there, it was rubbing the tank, and it was the clamp rubbing it, which would have eventually rubbed a hole in it. Here's your two clamps you get with it, which requires three. So, there's that. Customer service, this is the funny part. They told me that I had it installed wrong. And that's what I mentioned. Well, if there's only one way to install the goddamn thing, maybe you ought to bring instructions. I did give these guys the benefit of the doubt. Pardon the seizure here. And I fiddled with it and just assumed I did something wrong because I was under the impression that if somebody's selling a product like that for a living, they know what they're doing. Boy, was I mistaken. I tweaked that thing every goddamn way you could think of. And once I got the soft coolant line, which I did not order from Absolute Performance because I don't have time, all the time in the world to wait on them, I just went and got a piece of heater hose and did it myself. Probably cheaper than their blue hose anyway. So that being said, yeah, they complained that I waited too long because I didn't have time to just fuck with this thing all in one day. Over the next few months, I tweaked it, assuming I was doing something wrong. Finally, when I figured out there was no way to get this thing to fit, I contacted them. Well, then they said, see our return policy, because I wanted my money back because it was a piece of shit product. And they said, well, we can't take it. You need to look at our return policy. And, of course, it's one of those where they got 30 days, and you guys got to keep the original receipt, the original box, yada, yada, yada. Well, if I recall correctly, I'm not even sure if I got a receipt. Maybe. I got an online receipt. It just came to filter in the box. No instructions. There might have been an invoice or a receipt. I don't remember. But it was, out of all the intakes I bought, it was by far the bare minimum. Usually they send you instructions. K&N, of course, has not only instructions, but they'll give you an inventory sheet and what's all in the box or supposed to be in it. Really professional way to do it. Most places are like that. S&B was not quite as extensive as K&N, but they still gave you the skinny. And like I said, it's not a big a deal, that big a deal to put a cold air intake. But these guys made it out like I was doing something wrong, and it was a wrong way to do it. And if that's the case, then you better send instructions. So I have this recorded, documented. I think they've got their bases covered enough to where I can't really do anything about it. I might turn them into the BBB, I don't know. Or I might just have to eat the $350 or $400, whatever the hell the goddamn thing cost. But once they said or agreed that there was no right way of putting this thing on, they told me to modify it. They told me to cut some length off of the boot, and I refused. I said, if I have to modify your product, then you did something wrong and I shouldn't be punished for it, in so many words. And that's when they started getting shitty and accused me of being shitty, which I was standing my ground. I'm not going to pay top dollar for an intake and then have to modify it in my own free time while my truck sits down, the truck I make money with. So that was a shitstorm. So you top a piece of shit product on top of the absolute worst customer service I've ever seen or heard of. There's my recommendation. I've been buying a lot of parts, a lot of stuff over the years. I hate to do negative videos. I wanted to do business with a smaller company, an upstart company, and I really regret it. I should have just stuck to K&N or another S&B, companies that actually know what they're doing. Not to mention the absolute performance intake is pretty much just a complete cop off of the no limit. I don't have any experience with them or their customer service, but I didn't realize that till after I bought it. You might as well buy the original instead of a copycat. There's a couple positive videos I want to make here in the future, because I don't just like to do negative stuff, but these guys suck. And I don't know about their other products. A friend of mine has their intake on his truck. He's run it for years. It doesn't fit right, but he just kind of deals with it. It rubs on stuff, and he's got it rigged in there enough to where he's content. He doesn't have the money to go buy another intake, and I guess he just gives a less of a fuck than I do. Well, that's all I got. Any questions? I'll be more than happy to assist you on this, and maybe there's something I forgot I might mention in the description or in other comments about how lousy my experience with these guys. It's unbelievable. Till next time.